I put timestamps in the video, so if there's a game you don't want to get spoiled on, just skip it. I love playing video games, and at the beginning of last year, I told myself that 2025 would be the year I played and finished the most games. And I'm happy to say I completed it. I played around 124 games, give or take, and finished 44. All from many different genres, from cozy indie games to open world RPGs, a turn-based game like Expedition 33, some hack and slash games with the likes of Ninja Gaiden and Metal Gear Rising, which I still haven't finished yet, and I played a decent amount of horror games like Resident Evil, Callisto Protocol, and a lot of horror indie game demos that I will not be including in this tier list. But yeah, the way I'm going to be ranking these games is not going to be an S to F tier tier list, but a different tier list layout I got from watching a Valzo Plat ranking tier list video from a year ago. It's not a direct copy because I added a few different tiers, with the first tier being top 6. This is pretty self-explanatory. These are my top 6 favorite games I played last year and enjoyed the most. Send help. This tier is for the most challenging, range-inducing games that really had me questioning if I wanted to punch a hole through my monitor. Challenging. This tier is just a nerfed version of the previous tier where I didn't get frustrated or mad as often, but the challenge was still there and it might have taken me a few attempts to get some things done. Also, the game difficulty felt pretty balanced and I had fun. Cinema. Games that were visually stunning, immersive, and had an amazing story to tell with good gameplay. The kind of game that had me sit back after the credits rolled and think about what I just experienced. Fun. These were solid games that were worth the playthrough and I had a lot of fun with them. Meh. Games I didn't really have a fun time with. Enjoyable at first, but the longer I played it, the more I couldn't wait to start the next game. I played it, I finished it, and I forgot about it immediately. One more thing, I will be adding a number rating for each game of how I think the game is overall. For example, I absolutely love Assassin's Creed Odyssey, one of my top 3 AC games, but I think the game overall is an 8 or 8.5 out of 10. Okay, now that we have that out of the way and you know what all the tiers are, go get yourself a snack, maybe some popcorn, some Fruit Loops, or maybe a chocolate vanilla swirl with some cookie crunch, and sit back and enjoy my tier list rankings of all the games I finished this year, in no particular order. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. To start off 2025, I played Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, a remake of the original Ninja Gaiden 2 that I played later that year. Quick side note, I did not play it this year. The game that got me into the Ninja Gaiden series, and the first hack and slash game I ever played. The combat was so much fun and had a variety of weapons to choose from the starting katana to the bow staff, all the way to the double katanas. Each weapon had a different moveset and felt impactful and useful in different situations, like using the bow staff for its massive hitbox, spamming the katana's AYY move, because why the heck not, and using the Eclipse Scythe because it just shreds bosses' health bars. As for the story, I didn't really pay attention. I would just focus on Azuna dropping everybody. This game goes into top 6 because the gameplay loop was very addicting and fun, and the amount of times I was just hyped playing Ryu packing up the bosses was just peak. The Ezio Trilogy. I'm ranking Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations together, because I pretty much got the same enjoyment out of all of them, but in just different ways. For AC2, I really enjoyed the story of the game. Watching Ezio go from a rich, naive, reckless young man to having to deal with his father's death and slowly growing into one of the most iconic characters in video game history was so peak. And we can't forget about his cool uncle.
It's a me, Mario!
For AC Brotherhood, it was basically the same as AC2, but the combat, parkour, and everything was just a lot smoother and polished. I also really like the option to call an assassin when you're in a pinch. And out of the older AC games, Brotherhood is my favorite AC game out of all of them. And lastly, Revelations. I love the map and setting of Constantinople. Also, the implementation of the hook blade was such a really neat change they added, which made parkouring a lot faster and assassinating from zip lines a fun change of pace. So the Ezio Trilogy will go into cinema. Gris. Losing a loved one is a very traumatic experience, and in this game called Gris, you are a young girl overcoming grief over the loss of her mother. I love its unconventional storytelling, not through words, but through the ever-changing surroundings. The watercolor art and visuals were just breathtaking, from riding on the back of a huge turtle or just traveling through the world. This game was pure art. The puzzles and platforming can be a little challenging at times, I guess, mainly because I overthink a lot of things, and I made things harder than they actually are. Gris goes into cinema. Lies of P. Okay, where do I start with this one? I started this game back in 2024, but didn't finish it until last year, because this game was a definition of pain and suffering. I was stuck on certain bosses for months, and I doubted that I would ever finish this game, but as you could see, it's on the list. What stood out to me in Lies of P was the weapons and bosses. I really liked that you could change the hilt of the blade to alter the attack patterns of your light and heavy attacks, and as for the bosses, some of them I really enjoyed fighting, and others not so much, like the Black Rabbit Brotherhood, because I hate fighting multiple bosses. This goes for Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, just all of them. When I walk into a boss room and I see there's more than one boss, my heart just sinks. Straight into send help. Alan Wake Remastered. Okay, Alan Wake had an amazing story from start to finish, with its psychological, mind-altering twists and turns where you didn't know what was real and what wasn't. But what I'm about to say might make a lot of people mad. I think Alan Wake's gameplay is trash.
Excuse me?
There, I said it. I don't know what everyone else's consensus is on the gameplay of the game, but for me, it was unbearably repetitive. It was just an enemy coming out of a bush or from behind something, and I would just use my flashlight or use a flare to make them vulnerable for my gunshots. That was the gameplay loop for 9 hours, and for me, it just wasn't that fun. I was more happy to get a cutscene and watch it than shine a light at some dude's face for the 100th time. In all honesty, I have a hard time choosing where to put this game, because I did enjoy the story a lot, and I would put it in cinema, but because of how much I disliked the gameplay, I'm gonna put it in mid tier. Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 and another RE game that is coming up are tied for my favorite games in the series. To me, the atmosphere of RE7 is the scariest in the series, and the setting being in a swamp in rural Louisiana is just so unsettling. And I feel like I bring this up every time I talk about a horror game, but I hate when I get chased or stalked. This game really had me on the edge of my seat. I would constantly whip my camera around, paranoid that Tim Baker was gonna sneak up on me. And I hated that these things would just spawn out of nowhere in certain areas. I'm gonna put this game in challenging, because the game itself isn't really hard, but it was hard for me because I was just paranoid the whole time, and I would just sit in a lot of the safe areas, not really doing anything because I was just too scared. Botany Manor. In Botany Manor, you play as a retired botanist researching how to grow plants in pretty unconventional ways, like using a camera's flash or music to grow them. The game's cozy environment was very vibrant and full of color, and the music that would play after finishing a puzzle was so rewarding. As for my enjoyment of the game, I actually liked it. I was surprised I did, because when it comes to puzzle-based games, I'm not a big fan, because I tend to overthink a lot of the small things, or a lot of the times I just flat out don't find enjoyment in purely puzzle-based games. But this one wasn't so daunting, so I enjoyed it, putting it into fun. Nightmare Files Clap Clap. The only downside to this game is that it's not longer. For being the devs' first game, they did a really good job of scaring the crap out of me. When that tall guy started chasing me, my body felt cold and hot at the same time, and I felt lightheaded as I looped him around the table and couches. Fun tier. ABZU. A relaxing linear scuba diving game where you solve puzzles and explore different aquatic biomes. I absolutely love the art design of Matt Nava. It's not graphically intense either, it could run on a potato, but the vibrant colors, layout of the scenery, and the different types of fish give a sense of awe, and in my case nostalgia, of a younger me, because I wanted to be an oceanographer or a zoologist when I was a kid. Fun tier. South of Midnight. The story and stop motion art style of South of Midnight was really cool. The way it was laid out, where you learn about each character and how they pertain to the narrative, and the portrayal of it through animals kind of reminded me of Aesop's Fables that my mom used to read to me as a kid. The gameplay to me was the weak side of the game, but the narrative and the little moral lessons behind each story made up for it. One of the memorable fables was about a mother's unconditional love for her child, and no matter how long they were separated or changed in appearance, there was a strong love and connection between the two of them. Also, other than E33's music, this is also up there for me. I'm gonna put this one into fun. Assassin's Creed Mirage. I talk a lot of smack about Ubisoft, but the thing that keeps me coming back to their games are their phenomenal worlds. The location of Baghdad is in my top 3 favorite maps in the series, and I just love how vibrant it is. To me, the story isn't really that memorable. I enjoyed the combat, stealth, and different tools you were able to use, like the smoke bombs that were really good. I usually like to abuse powerful abilities, like Assassin's Focus, but I didn't find myself using it because it just made the game an absolute breeze. The game was also really easy to 100%, only taking me 25 hours. It was your typical synchronize all viewpoints, get collectibles, and some others like explore all the regions of Baghdad. Overall, I had a good time with this one, putting it into fun. Metro 2033 Redux / Last Light. I'm doing the same thing I did with the Ezio Trilogy and putting both Metro Redux and Last Light in the same tier because I had around the same enjoyment from both games. Both games had amazing gunplay, story, enemies, and atmosphere. Heavy emphasis on that atmosphere because the post-apocalyptic atmosphere was so well done with the day, night, and weather cycles. It just made the game so immersive, which is why I'm putting it into cinema. This year made me realize how much I began to enjoy linear story games. I absolutely love the open world aspect of games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Elden Ring, because with games like that, you could pretty much explore anywhere you want in any direction. But the downside for me last year was that I couldn't really put the hours into certain games like I did the previous year due to work. Journey. The next game we got is Journey, a pretty short game you could finish in about 2 hours. You spawn into a massive desert and you reach the top of a dune, and you see the goal you must reach, the top of a mountain in the distance. I met other players along the way to the top. The gameplay revolves around running, jumping, and speaking. Pretty simple, but the game is more of a walking sim where you just appreciate the different places you go. This one goes straight into cinema. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. The most modern game in the AC series, this one had some good gameplay. I liked playing as both Jacob and Evie. They each played kinda differently, with Jacob being more aggressive and Evie being a bit more stealthy. The combat is a little fast for my liking, and the setting of London isn't really my favorite, but I like how busy and lived in the city feels. I also really like the grapple that they added, making traveling through the map a whole lot easier. Fun tier. Mullet Mad Jack. A chaotic roguelike FPS with an old 90s retro cyberpunk anime aesthetic. Mullet Mad Jack's fast-paced gameplay with its time constraints really had my blood pumping, especially when I would see 3 seconds left flash on the screen. There are a variety of weapons to choose from, but my favorite is the default pistol and the katana. I highly recommend this game to anyone who likes fast-paced FPSs. You won't regret it. Fun tier. Planet of Lana. Next is Planet of Lana, and I'm automatically putting this in cinema. I don't know what it is, but it's games with an art style like this or journeys I absolutely love. This game has some pretty fun puzzle platforming, and these running sequences are so cool. I can't wait for the second game to come out this year. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 campaign. The BO2 campaign was really good. I enjoyed the story and how graphic it was, showing how violent war can be and what humans are capable of. Royal Menendez, the villain, probably has one of the coolest villain introductions I've seen. I like the branching story paths you could take, allowing for good replayability, and the only thing I didn't enjoy that much was the gunplay. Fun tier. Sheepy, a short adventure. A short, adorable platformer that I wish was longer. This game is really cool with all the different abilities you get by progressing the game, with some boss fights that aren't really that challenging. The music and ambient sounds just really set the tone of this game, and just playing it was an awesome experience. Fun tier. Atmosphere. A 2D rollerball platformer. Atmosphere is another cozy indie I played this year. It was a short game with a very relaxing music track, but the levels just started to have the same level layout in certain sections. To be fair though, there's only a certain amount of level designs you could do with a 2D ball rolling game. I'ma put this one in meh. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Now we get to my favorite game that I played last year, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. What do I say that hasn't already been said? This game was pure cinema. The first hour of the game drags you in with its compelling narrative of loss, grief, and a sense of urgency to defeat the Paintress before the next gamage, and its breathtaking visuals and just artistic style was amazing. The amount of twists and turns throughout the story had me on the edge of my seat, or pausing the game to comprehend what just happened. At the end of Act 1 when Verso died, or later on in the story when I found out that the world of Lemire was just a painting Verso created in the real world, really had me questioning what I was playing and what the heck is going on. The music was also amazing and somehow didn't get nominated for the best gaming score at the Grammys. Gameplay wise, it took me a while to understand how each character plays, and the vast amount of builds you can create with the Picto system made it feel a little overwhelming at times. Before E33, I tried Baldur's Gate 3 and Persona 3 Reloaded, and couldn't really get into those games. I'ma retry Baldur's Gate 3 this year though. E33 is different. It mixes turn-based combat with real-time combat, in the form of skill checks like DBD, and dodging and parrying like in Sekiro or Lies of P. This game, hands down, is the best game I played this year, and is going straight into my top 6. Elden Ring Nightreign. Playing with randoms could either be a breeze or a horrible experience, because they leave the game after dying one time, or they go off by themselves, leaving you and your other random to fight a boss that was meant for 3 people. I'm so glad I have friends though, so I didn't really get to experience that side of the game that much, because the times I did actually drove me insane. There are 8 main bosses. The first one, a Cerberus that is able to separate his body. Second, a dragon with an abnormally large mouth that can nuke anyone in a mile radius. Third, 2 bugs that are pretty easy to fight but take a while because one is hard and gets harder and the other could fly. Fourth, this boss is afraid to touch the ground 99% of the game, so it looks like this. Fifth is the Goat Man Libra, the most aggressive boss in the game. He can literally attack you from anywhere. Above, below, left, right, it doesn't matter. 6th, this boss is actually pretty chill. He just rushes you a few times and shoots a few light beams at you. Now the last 2 are the most cinematic bosses in my opinion. A dragon that rains down ice crystals as you panic dodge hoping you don't get impaled, and a knight that literally splits the sky in 2. And it took me and my friends about a week and a half to defeat all of them. Most of the time was spent on this guy. I had a really fun time with this game, and it wasn't as hard as I thought until they decided to add Everdark bosses, which were the bosses that you fought previously, but they were harder and had a 3rd phase. So yeah, I'm putting this one into my top 6. Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is objectively in the top 3 RE games in the series, and I totally agree. It was amazing, from the combat to managing resources, and its mix between horror and action was just perfect. I enjoyed the different enemy types, like whatever this is, and the regenerators. They were pretty fun to fight, even though they took up a lot of my resources. Really hated getting chased by this guy. The story is solid, and Leon's one-liners can be a little corny most of the time, but that's what makes Leon Leon.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
The only annoying part of the game for me was probably Ashley getting in the way of me when I'm just trying to protect her, or her just standing in the open like a deer in headlights as she is approached by 4 enemies. She made the game more challenging, and that's why I'm going to stick it in challenging. Resident Evil Village. Do you like games where beautiful women hunt you down to try to suck your blood? Because Village has that and more. It's not as scary as Resident Evil 7, but in certain parts it could send shivers down your spine. Resident Evil Village is currently my favorite RE game I've played. Yes, I know, I enjoyed this game more than RE4. I've always preferred first-person games rather than third-person, and I've only done 1 playthrough of all the other RE games that I've tried so far, except Village with my 4 or 5 playthroughs. I might change my mind once I replay all the others again, but as of right now, Village is my favorite game. Top 6. The Callisto Protocol. People say this game is mid, but I actually really enjoy it. The combat is a little repetitive like some of the other games on the list, but the dodging and weaving through enemies I find pretty fun and satisfying. The story isn't really something that stuck out to me, but it wasn't bad in the least. It was just something there to keep me on track. Fun. A Plague Tale: Innocence. Everything about this game was amazing. And of course, the main thing that stood out to me was its gripping story. Following Hugo and Amicia as they flee from the Inquisition, navigating through rat-infested cities and countryside to find safety and to figure out what is wrong with Hugo. The graphics are amazing and the atmosphere is top tier, as you can see with these absolute gorgeous visuals. The gameplay is really good too. I think it has a pretty good balance between its puzzles and stealth gameplay sections, and the parts with more action like the fight between the Grand Inquisitor. This game is awesome and it goes into cinema. Hogwarts Legacy. I've never been a Harry Potter fan. I've never given it a chance. I haven't watched the movies or read the books. I just knew it was about wizards and magic, and it wasn't really appealing to me. My friend was playing through the game and was telling me it was really good. I saw the gameplay and the map and it looked interesting. I got the game on sale and actually enjoyed it. Exploring was my favorite part of the game, and there were just so many collectibles and little activities throughout the map, which was a little overwhelming at times. The combat was very spammy and pretty easy, and I liked that. It was more laid back. Type of game you play in the winter and drink some hot cocoa with. Fun. Avatar: The Last Airbender: The Burning Earth. This game was okay and I didn't really like it that much. I got it because the 100% was easy and because I like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Putting it in meh. Herdling. This game is a cozy herding game and I had a fun time with this one. You get to name all your animals called calicorns, so I gave all of them names for my friends and family. One of the memorable moments I had was when I was taking the herd across a narrow cliffside and the edge of the cliff broke off a little bit. And one of my calicorns fell off and it was my little sister's. So I told her that she fell off in-game. So she was just playfully hitting me saying, "Why would you let me fall off the cliff?" We had a good laugh. We'll put this one in fun tier. Sea of Solitude. I really didn't like Sea of Solitude. It is an indie game though, so I will give it some leeway. I get the message of the game of how loneliness creates monsters, but I couldn't really connect to the story. Probably because the voice acting felt lifeless and stale, but in their defense, English isn't their first language, it's German, and it's most likely the devs voice acting, and not actual paid voice actors. One thing I did like about the game though is the art style. The daytime gives off a lonely yet calming vibe as you travel through this submerged city on your boat. But yeah, this was an okay game, pretty short, and I will be putting into med tier. Assassin's Creed Origins. Okay, I finished this game 2 years ago and got every achievement in the base game. And last year, I got all the achievements in both DLCs, fully 100%ing the game. Both of the DLCs were pretty good, and I felt that they were very short. The hidden ones especially. I just really wish the story was a bit longer. As for the Curse of the Pharaohs, one of the things I liked were the different environments. One of my favorites being the Field of Reeds. This one goes into fun. We Love Katamari Reroll. We Love Katamari is just mindless fun where you roll a ball over objects and collect them, making you grow. Some levels you are as small as a toy soldier. Other times you're bigger than islands, so tall you reach the clouds. The cartoony style of the game was very charming and adorable. This game was a really fun session-to-session time waster type of game, and we'll be going into fun tier. Halo Reach Campaign. When I was young, I didn't grow up with an Xbox console, or any console in fact. I was a mobile games kid. I played Major Mayhem, Iron Man 3, Pixel Gun 3D, and we can't forget about Trigger Fist. So I didn't get to experience the golden era of Halo or Call of Duty. So when the boys made plans to play it this year, I was pretty excited to experience one of the pinnacle games of the 2010s. I had a blast with the missions. There were a lot of memorable moments, like me spawning and dying to a tank right as I spawned. We played the campaign on the hardest difficulty and actually didn't die as much as we thought we would. All in all, I had an amazing time with Reach, but I felt I went into this game with too high of expectations because of the way my friends and many people on the internet talked about this game. I'll put it in fun because I had an enjoyable time playing the game, but it just didn't resonate with me as it did with others, probably because I didn't play it when I was younger, so it wasn't as nostalgic, I guess. Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma. I had about the same enjoyment from Sigma as I did in Black. There were some differences, like the fight with Lady Liberty or Buddha. Also, I don't know what it was, but the nunchucks were extremely overpowered for ad clear in this one. Don't really have anything else to say about this game. It was cool playing the older version of the one I played before it, and I'm glad I chose to try the Ninja Gaiden series. Fun tier. I Am Your Beast. The way I found out about this game was by having a DQ Roman video come across my TikTok feed. He had it as a B-roll clip in the background as he was ranting about something. I don't remember what he was talking about, but all I know is that the background gameplay was very intriguing. I wrote the game down as a possible buy in the future, in my long list of games I want to play. And not even 2 weeks later, the game came out on Game Pass. The game isn't that long if you're good at the game, and if you don't really care about the challenges, you could probably finish the main story in about 3 hours. But as for me, I did struggle with this game a little bit. The game itself isn't hard, but the optional challenges were challenging. Oh wow, who would have thought? Well, we know where this one's going. Assassin's Creed Rogue. I actually like this one because it put a twist on Assassin's Creed, allowing you to play as a Templar instead of an assassin. One gripe I do have with the game because of that is the Templars in this game aren't really portrayed as the big evil bad faction as they were portrayed in the other games. Even though the game kind of feels like a DLC to Black Flag with basically all the same gameplay mechanics, I enjoyed it. And the earthquake sequence was awesome. Fun tier. Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. From fighting a helicopter, a T-Rex, and then whatever the heck this is, the game was fire, but I did not expect it to be as challenging as it was. I played both the previous Ninja Gaiden games on normal, and I would say it was a little challenging, but it wasn't that bad. This game is the hardest Ninja Gaiden game I've played so far. On normal difficulty, I was struggling with the basic ninjas. As I played more, I kinda started to get the hang of the combat. Now, if you're standing, I want you to take a seat, and don't get mad at me, but halfway through the game, I started a new save and switched the game to easy, because I had 3 days left to beat the game before it was removed off of Game Pass. I'm gonna buy the game this year to experience the other half of pain and misery that I missed out on, putting this one into Send Help. Doom the Dark Ages. Putting this into my top 6. Doom the Dark Ages combat was so much fun. Going from playing as Doom Guy wreaking havoc to any demon I came across with the utmost disrespect, then fighting in a giant mech suit, to then aerial combat on a dragon was awesome. Didn't really care much about the story, I was just there for the combat. I love the pairing. It's pretty forgiving and not all that hard to pull off. And the music was awesome, it really set the mood of the game. They could have had some Elden Ring type music playing and it would have made the game feel way different. Keeper. Keeper was just a fun, relaxing game I played after work. It's a fun puzzle platformer where the gameplay mechanics revolve around the lighthouse strobe light and your little bird friend, roaming the beautifully crafted world as you try to make your way to the top of a mountain as you try to avoid this stuff called wither. The art style of the world really reminds me a lot of a Dr. Seuss book with its very weird and exaggerated designs. Thought the game was pretty cool, so I'm gonna put it in fun. Lords of the Fallen. This is actually a pretty cool Souls-like, and another game that had a really cool art style and really fun combat. Other than some of the bosses you fight becoming regular enemies you come across, like Mr. Potato Head over here, I enjoyed the game. For me, the boss fights aren't the difficult part of the game. It's getting to the boss fights and exploring the map, because a lot of the regular enemies are really hard. I played with a friend and really appreciated that they had seamless co-op and shared progression. Also, I love the different map locations and the implementation of the Lantern and the Umbral Realm. Challenging. It Takes Two. An absolute peak couch co-op gaming experience. I have nothing but good things to say about this game. I had a blast playing this game with my little sister for the last 2 months of the year. I know we will both look back at this game for the many memorable memories we made playing it. Even though it was a teamwork based game, she managed to turn everything into a little competition. And when I say everything, not even the cutscene skip button was safe. We could just be running to the next area and she has to be the first one to get there. Or if I die first in a fight, I just get hit with the
Matthew, stop dying.
Or her glancing over at me with a little smirk on her face. We recently started Split Fiction, another co-op game made by the same studio. And so far the experience is a lot smoother than It Takes Two because she's already pretty familiar with all the controls and how to play the game. This one will go into my top 6. Ball X Pit. Now this game had me in a chokehold for the whole month of December. A very simple game concept yet so addicting. The way the game works is you enter a pit with one of many characters to choose from and fight your way through different kinds of enemies for each level. Some enemies shoot fire, some enemies shoot guided arrows, some even take your balls. Pause. The different ball fusions in the game are just so fun to me. You could combine all the basic balls like fire, ice, wind, laser, and more to create even more powerful balls. And all the characters have little abilities of their own, which just adds more layers to the game. And once you're done with your run, you go back to the surface and use the money and resources you earn from your run to expand your city with buildings and farming resources to help you become stronger. And I will be putting this game into fun tier. Well, there we go. All the games I finished last year in a tier list. I tried to get it out in January, but I was procrastinating too much, so I got it out later than expected. I'm really looking forward to play some of the new games that come out this year like Resident Evil 9, and clean up and play some of the games I didn't get to the previous year. Let me know some of your favorite games that you played last year, or what you plan on playing this year. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and the ratings, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeet!